Today I'm joined by Ben Heinrich from the Heinrich team. And Ben is a little bit of a celebrity really in the luxury real estate world here on the Monterey Peninsula and in Big Sur. He's award-winning. With him and his team, the Heinrich team are award-winning and rated in the top 1% of Coldwell Banker brokers in the US, quite an achievement, and also recently recognized as one of the top 100 teams in rheology in the United States. So really, I'm just honored to be interviewing you, Ben, and I just thought it would be useful to get your insight into the whole industry of real estate over the last almost 40 years, I think it is. So really, you are a sage in this area, and I think we can all learn quite a lot from you in this industry and in business in general. So there's some questions I'll ask you for that. So welcome. It's nice to have you here.
Good. It's good to be here. Thank you very much, Lesley.
So Ben, what are the over the last 40 years or so, what are the major changes you've seen in real estate, and what's stayed the same? Are there some common trends there?
Well, there's a great saying that everything's different, but nothing changes. Uh, and I think this really applies to all the professions, real estate in particular. Certainly, top of mind, people would say, wow, the technology sure has changed. And that is true. But it's interesting with the technology, real quickly, because it used to be the gadgets were the really cool stuff. And now we're finding that people that really understand technology realizes it goes into the background and it becomes seamless, and while it's working, you don't really see it. So that's one of the big changes going on now. And all the really good real estate agents understand that. They understand that technology helps you be much more productive, much more communicative with your clients, which is so important. But it's not an end in itself like it used to be.
So it's more of a supportive tool now as people have got more used to it. It's there to make your job easier, to make things easier for your clients, and basically to streamline and make things more efficient rather than it being the new toy on the block, as it were.
That's right. It also keeps you much up to date with your grandkids. So,
Yeah.
and your clients' grandkids.
And isn't it nice that when we've been able to, certainly this year, be able to use video an awful lot more? I mean, as much as we might get fed up with it, I think it's a great tool for being able to build relationships.
Yeah, it's kind of holding everybody together right now because of certainly the circumstances that we all find ourselves in. So although it's not as desirable and as much fun as being with someone, it's as good as we can do right now. And I'm very, very proud of how people are using it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's great for relationship building. And when we can't get face to face, it's great to be able to do that. So really, one of the constants that's been over the years, what you're saying is that relationship part of the business. We just have to do it in different ways. Certainly in the last year.
That's very true. It's all about relationships, without a doubt.
Absolutely. So what would you say are the most important elements of building a real estate practice or a successful real estate practice?
Well, I find it interesting. Although recently it's a little changed, I don't know many real estate agents that, let's say in high school or college, said at the time, when I get out of school, I'm going to be a real estate agent. It's something that just seems to happen to people in their lives at the right time. But having said that, recently I am seeing so many talented young people coming into the real estate business absolutely by design, absolutely out of college. And I think many colleges are, especially the ones that have entrepreneurial departments like California State University, Monterey Bay, they're really helping these kids get grounded early. And they seem to be coming to the business world very mature for their age. And I just think it's absolutely wonderful. So uh, I guess back to your original question, number one, you have got to be a patient person to be a real estate agent. You have got to be very persistent in a gentle way, not only with your own business goals, but with your clients. And you probably most importantly have to realize that listening to your clients is 95% what you do.
Absolutely. I think, that's so true. The last thing that you said there. And with the business that I'm in terms of branding and the people element of the brand, it's all so much about how you make people feel and how they feel special when you work with them, or not, as the case might be. And if we miss that opportunity to make people feel special by listening to them and what they're actually needing from us, then we're missing a massive opportunity to grow our brand and grow our business and be successful. So I think listening in terms of what is it people are really saying and what do they need
Right.
is crucial.
Oh, that is so important. And I think you're seeing so many good, good new companies that realize they have a relationship with their customers. Uh, and in many cases, it doesn't have a lot to do with the product or service.
Mm-hmm.
Best example in the world is Bombas socks. These young guys have created an incredibly successful business selling comfortable socks, but it's based on the premise that for every sock you buy, they give one away to the homeless community. So that is, talk about a brand with a foundation that is so far beyond just the typical business consumer relationship. They're they're out there making it a better world by selling socks. And
Yes.
so I think the real estate industry can be the same absolute way in individual practices. You can kind of pick where you want to be in life and use where you are to make it a better world for the people that you are fortunate to come into contact with and help. And what a wonderful way to do it uh, in real estate, where you have such an impact on people. And I think realtors underestimate just how they change the lives of their clients and friends uh, by finding them a home.
Absolutely. And making that whole
Absolutely.
process. Yeah.
Yeah,
Making
it's
the process easy and enjoyable.
it's one of the most important foundational things our country has, and yet we tend to take what we do for granted.
Yes, and when I work with real estate professionals, it's I'm always saying to them, when you think about how you differentiate yourself, think about what the end result is for what you provide to your clients. What are they actually buying? And when you think about it, at the end of the day, they're buying not what you maybe think it is, not necessarily a new home, but maybe an enjoyable process. Maybe it's a dream come true. Maybe there's an extension to what we think we provide.
That's
That
right.
that
Uh,
end result is a
Yes.
massively important role.
Yeah, a place for their kids to grow up, a
Yeah.
place for a family to live together, and in a place like the Monterey Peninsula, California, where and certainly we're grateful. It's a beautiful area. There are lots of very successful people that have moved to the Monterey Peninsula, but some of the more special moments in my business is helping a first-time family find a home. And you see these kids that haven't really experienced that yet. And they may be 2, they may be 7, they may be 10. But we recently sold a wonderful home out here in the Carmel Valley Village. And they were from the Bay Area. They were the young kids, little girl 7, her big brother 10 years old. And we're driving around because we live fairly close to them. And we see the whole family walking together in the neighborhood with their dog. And you just kind of go, wow,
Yeah.
we helped impact their lives for the good. And that's pretty good stuff.
It is, isn't it? And from what you're saying, I think it's good advice for any real estate agent to get to grips with what they really are providing to people rather than just be focused on the transactions and the skills and their technical input to the whole process. It's
Yeah,
really understanding that specific that they bring. And everybody brings it in their own individual way. And I'm sure that
they
you've
do.
found that over the years.
They do. And there's so many styles in the business, but if the motives are all right, then the transactions tend to take care of themselves because all
Mm,
the real good agents are very, very good at the transactional items that have to be done. There are a lot of pieces that have to fit together, uh, many of which revolve around the emotions of the participants. So much of what I do, and we referred to it earlier, the listening part,
yeah.
much of what I do is to watch my clients go through the process and be empathic and pick up where they need help. Sometimes people need to borrow a little bit of courage,
Yeah.
and you've got to be there for them when that happens because they'll look back and say, boy, there was a time when I wasn't quite sure, and you helped us through it. And boy,
Yeah.
that really feels good.
Exactly, and that's why you do the job that you do, and you've been successful. And I think we should all, whatever profession we're in, but listen out for what clients say about the experience they've had with us, because those are the real gems that help us to understand the
Yeah.
importance of the role that we actually have. I think that's great.
Yeah.
So,
When people look back, that's what they tend to remember.
yeah,
Little bitty times that help get them through to the big picture. So yeah, that's really interesting to think about that.
it is. And that's the piece that gets talked about, and therefore that's the piece that brings you in referral business, because people love to talk about their great experiences that they've had. So I think that's an important piece there as well. So how does the real estate profession differ or compare perhaps to other professions, do you think? What makes it different specifically?
Well, this may be a bit of a stretch, but it takes a lot of preparation to be an accomplished real estate agent. Uh, I tell many young real estate agents and realtors when I'm mentoring them that I want them to think about the fact that if some of your contemporaries have gone on to medical school, they're going to spend 4, 6, 7 years getting prepared so they can go to work. And I want the young real estate agent to realize, oh, so it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a lot of preparation. I'm going to have to put down some really important roots in my community for all the right reasons. And this, uh, it's a real commitment, but it doesn't happen overnight. You really, if you're doing your planning, you need to think of when you're starting out at least a 4-year horizon
Mm,
in terms of where you're going. So that in many ways is similar to other professions, to the preparation to become an attorney, the preparation to become a doctor or a scientist. Um, I tell a lot of young people coming into the business, get your hands on every book about your area.
mhm.
Find out who all the great authors were in your area. Read every one of those books. Around here, it's John Steinbeck,
Of course.
or it's some of the great books in Big Sur, or certainly Cannery Row, or The Grapes of Wrath, or East of Eden.
Robert Louis
That's
Stevenson. Yeah.
yeah, Robert Louis Stevenson. That's part of the culture. And I find if you do that, you spend with your clients 90% of the time talking about things that have nothing to do with real estate. And then in a very compressed 10% of the time, you do everything you need to do to buy a home.
Yeah.
Most of the times when we're driving around, we're talking about, we're going past the mission, let's say, uh, and talking about Junipero Serra, or we're talking about the history of the area, Or what was it like on Carmel Point when John Martin bought it in 1846? And he was a Scottish farmer and said, it's all rocks and sand. I can't grow anything here. So we got a bunch of cows instead and had a dairy. This is what I talk to my clients about. And then we remind each other, well, let's look at some homes then. So
Yeah, it's making people feel good. And I think what you said there, going back to people entering the profession, sometimes it can be seen as, oh, well, I think I'll try real estate next. That sounds good. I can earn lots of money from that. But what you're saying is you should treat it like any other profession. It takes a ramp up period. You need to study hard. Certainly the history of the area is really important. So treat it as a serious profession.
well, I've heard real estate called the easiest looking, hardest profession in the world.
Yeah, that figures. Absolutely figures. And just on that point, if you've got, so there will be some new agents listening to this, some who are considering going into the real estate profession. There'll be some experienced agents as well, maybe wanting to go up to the next level and really specialize in the luxury sector. What would you say, as well as those little stories and things that you've just in the history, is there anything specific that you would say, or one thing you'd say if you're wanting to go to that next level and move into the luxury sector? What do you need to focus on most?
I think it's a function of where you spend your time, what you think about, what you read, what you focus on. If you want to um, experience more and more of the luxury market, number one, you have to know where do most of the people that uh, get into that luxury market, where do they come from?
Yeah.
In our case, it's Northern California. So you had better really understand business in Northern California.
Mm.
You had better read some of the really great books about how Silicon Valley started, because many of those people have become very successful, and you're just by the nature of the business, you're going to run into some of those people.
Yeah.
And you're going to have conversations, and they're going to know very, very quickly how grounded you are and what your depth of experience is, not just in real estate, because that too many people focus on just the nuts and bolts of real estate, which is critical, but they don't spend enough time expanding their experience. They don't read enough. If something comes up, they don't know what it is or what it means, and you want to be conversant with lots and lots of things that interest people.
Mm.
That's to me, that's number one.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just got to have a breadth of your experience, and that's part of that 4-year preparation.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah. So it's really what you're saying is offering something a little different over and above what the average real estate professional might be providing. It's going that extra mile. How important do you think it is to differentiate yourself? Because I know that you have a very special interest and expertise in smart homes, for example. Would you say that that's important for real estate agents to be known for one specific thing?
Um, it is you need to pick your ground.
Mm.
Uh, my particular area that I think is critical, that's getting more and more critical, is the proper use of energy, healthy homes, uh, how we are using our materials, our building science to build homes that are as safe as possible and afford people the most healthy experience possible. And that comes under the smart home category. Although, in too many cases, when people think of smart homes, all they do is think of gadgets.
Right.
And a lot of gadgets in a home does not necessarily make it a smart home. From my experience, what makes a home a smart home is when a homeowner sits down and has some way of thinking about, how do I live and how do I want to enhance my comfort, my entertainment, my health, my security. There's got to be a process to do that because there are tons of gadgets that
Yeah.
will do that. But a gadget isn't the way to be introduced to smart homes. It's really thinking about, wow, how do I want to apply this to the way my family lives?
Yeah.
So that's one area, smart homes, passive homes. In Europe, most of the homes, the new homes being built there, are so energy efficient that you can heat them with the same wattage of one 40-watt light bulb.
Wow.
In our country, our construction industry is not up to the same standards that unfortunately there are in Europe. I think it may be cultural because in Europe, when you build something, it tends to last 800 or 900 years.
Yes.
And we've all seen some of those in the beautiful big cities.
Yeah.
Uh, in America, we tend to be so consumer and throwaway oriented that even the things we build don't last very long. And they use way too much energy, and in many cases, they're not very healthy.
Yeah.
But we are learning about that, and frankly, that's a responsibility I see for new, younger agents getting into the business to be able to speak about, let's say they've got a client that wants to remodel a home. I don't know many agents that would bring up the idea, okay, are you going to be talking to your architect about energy, about indoor air quality? Are you going to be talking about energy savings? Right up front with the architect and the remodel, it's part of a new way of thinking about real estate.
Absolutely. And I think as we're coming out of this horrendous year for lots of reasons. We go into a new fresh year and we don't know how that's going to map out yet, but I feel like people are looking for something new. What's important to me now in my life, rather than it being so much about just materialistic things. So I think all of that will come into play more, and it's important to understand what our clients are looking for in that respect, I think.
Yeah, and I think that on the material side of things, if your thinking is on the right stuff, the material side of things takes care of itself.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Everything falls into place. So, what do you think are the biggest issues facing real estate, perhaps as we go into a new year?
In California, certainly the biggest issue is the lack of housing for people.
Mm,
We're all reading how uh, many cases more people are moving out of California than are moving to California. And during the 50s and 60s and 70s, California was where everybody wanted to be. So the issue of taking responsibility to make sure there is affordable housing uh, for everyone. Zoning is a huge issue coming up in the next 10, 20, 30 years. It goes way, way back into some historical things that our country is not proud of. That zoning was a way of keeping certain groups of people together and not letting other groups of people participate. And so there are going to be huge changes in the zoning area. There are going to be huge changes, for example, in Berkeley and San Jose. They are starting to understand the smart home, the healthy home, uh, how to build homes without creating such indoor bad air quality that if it was outdoors, it would be what is known as a don't go outdoors kind of a day.
mhm.
Uh, for example, Berkeley says no new homes can have gas. So it's all going to be induction cooktops.
Right.
San Jose is going that direction. So there are so many issues. It's almost like the construction industry is going to be spending the next 20 years catching up with the rest of the world.
Yeah. Gosh, massive problem. What can agents do to be part of the solution right now?
Well, that's a great question. One thing they can do is to start reading the literature about how homes and health are so related,
Mm,
how young kids' asthma and you hear about it all the time, how, well, my child has horrible asthma, but they never connect the fact that maybe it's the way they cook,
Mm.
maybe it's the materials in their home, in their carpet, that are creating the problems for the kids.
Mm.
Um,
Wow.
so
You're in
one thing
demand.
about real estate, it tends to intrude on everything. And I'm declining that phone call. So
So they can help educate people, is what you're
yeah,
saying. So
and not so much educate people, but make sure the issues are raised.
Mm.
Uh, what about people who are retiring? How many of them, when they're remodeling their homes, immediately start thinking about aging in place,
Yeah.
which is going to be, with the boomers getting older and older, a huge part of how we look at homes. And part of smart home planning can be aging in place. There are a lot of things that can help people do that, because people really don't want to leave their home and go in their last years somewhere that's just not home.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. Wow, there's some massive issues coming up. So, just as we sort of draw to a close with this, there's some great information there to think about. And what would you say has made the Heinrich team successful and has kept you in business and top of mind, really, so much? And really, you're so well known in the area now for what you do. What would you say has helped to help to keep you
well,
successful?
I can tell you what I'm told. Uh, I am very, very active in my community,
Yeah.
and president of the Harrison Memorial Library Foundation, uh, past president of the Boys and Girls Club. I really connect with my community because it's part of giving back to the community, but also it's part of feeling connected to something greater than you are,
Yes.
bigger than you are. And if you're out there and working hard on behalf of people in areas where work needs to be done, they tend to appreciate and remember,
Mm.
and it certainly has an effect on how you are viewed in the particular business you're in.
Absolutely. And I think community has been a key word for a lot of us this year. I know for us in our business it has, and being well known in the area for what you do and how you help out, what you support with, especially when it's needed in areas we may not have always been used to providing before. But you're certainly very well known for what you do, Ben, and the team are as well. So where can people best contact you? Because I know there's a lot of articles that you write, particularly in the smart homes arena and for agents as well. So where is it best for people to contact you?
Well, certainly our website, theheinrichteam.com. And if you were to Google smart homes, Monterey Peninsula, our website would come up because we do a lot of blogging about smart homes, healthy homes, how to plan your next move with regards to using the new technology to make your life more comfortable, healthier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think our website, or Google Ben Heinrich, Monterey Peninsula, and that would probably, tens of my articles that I've written would come up, and that would be a fun place to start.
They're fascinating as well. I think there's some really hugely useful information there. So thanks for sharing your wisdom with us today. And you have a wonderful team that you run there, and it's a pleasure to know you. Thanks very much, Ben.
Thank you, Lesley. I enjoyed this.
Good.